And so, it continues. Hello there, friend. Welcome back to Max's Finish It Challenge. 2016, at the start of the year, I told myself, Max, you don't finish anywhere near enough books. So I've been spending 2016 watching anime, playing games, and reading books. And so we're continuing with our pseudo SAO Sword Art Online adventure. Last week, keep an eye out for the card and annotation on the screen right now. Last week, I reviewed books 1 and 2 of the original source material for Sword Art Online. If you would like to hear my thoughts on those, please feel free to check out the video. There should also be a link in the description down below. That was last week. This week, we're continuing on our SAO adventures. We're going to be diving into books 3 and 4 of Sword Art Online, also known as Fairy Dance. Kick off your shoes, nerd. It's time to fairy dance. Ugh, that was bad. That was really bad. I'm keeping it, though. I'm keeping it. So, two things really quickly, questions that people have been sending my way. Am I going to review the anime? I will. Sooner than you think. We're gonna go over those 26 episodes of, suffering relatively soon. Before that, I have one more thing to say. I am going to lightly talk about the events of the first book and the second book in this video. If you haven't read those, you may want to not watch this video. Or if you would like more information regarding these books, go watch that video. Up to you. You have the control. You're the boss. And as for everything else, remember that there will be an end slate at the end of this video where I talk about spoilers improper. So, without any further ado, let's dive right in. What are these books actually about? Sword Art Online Fairy Dance is the second arc of the SAO novels, being volumes 3 and 4. They follow right off the events of book 2, showing us the aftermath of the events of the first arc, as well as serving as a conclusion to the events that happened in Aincrad. As for the story proper, upon escaping the literal game of life and death, Kirito returns to the real world and learns that not all of the players escaped. For some strange reason, Kirito's girlfriend, Asuna, and hundreds of other players have remained in their coma, with no sign of ever waking up. After weeks of recovery, Kirito gets a word that a young woman who looks just like Asuna was spotted in another VR MMO, Alfenheim Online, also known as ALO. Driven by the desire to be reunited with his beloved, Kirito dons the VR visor one more time. These two books are way easier to talk about than the first two books of the series, because if you remember the previous video, the first book of the series is the actual plot, and the second book is side stories. That is not the case with these two books. Books 3 and 4 are basically two halves of the same story. The halves are not equal, mind you, but they're basically one story. Like, you would read them as a completed package. There's no way you would be satisfied with just reading one book. You have to read both of them. Which makes this easier, because since it's just one complete narrative split in two, we don't have to deal with a lot of, like, odd things, like I did with the last video where I had to, like, talk about plus and minuses for each particular book, so that's out of the table. Also, being entirely honest, both of these books are pretty consistent regarding their tone and subject matter, so unless I am prefacing a particular point by the book name, assume that whatever I'm saying applies to both books, okay? Let's dive right in. What were the good things about these books? The biggest strength of this story is that you can see it from 3 different points of view. And letting you see Asuna's point of view as she's, trapped in that other VR MMO gives you a lot of insight as to what's going on. It puts her at the forefront. It lets you actually see her struggle as she tries to escape on her own. Pretty cool stuff. Really good stuff. Also, Leva's point of view is actually really refreshing because it's third person as opposed to first person. All of this comes together really effectively and keeps the story fresh all throughout, from the beginning all the way to the very last page. There's one more thing really quickly, because you may notice that I've been shooting this video already for God knows how many minutes, and I haven't talked about the anime that much. Mostly because I would rather not talk about it, but I will eventually. These books, just like the previous ones, achieve the same goal as at answering all of the questions that the anime sets up and never actually cares to answer. There's one particular scene from the anime, and I'm just gonna say this really quickly because I'll probably forget about it when I talk about the anime proper. There's one scene in the anime in which Kirito, for seemingly no reason, turns into a giant monster. It's never explained, never addressed, and it never happens ever again. In the book, it is properly explained and foreshadowed, and holy crap, was that effective. We're once again reminded that the source material reigns supreme. But anyways, yeah. If you were looking for more answers, you're gonna get them. Now, with that being said, Book 3. I'm gonna just come out and say this right now. Book 3 is the best written book in the first 4. I'm not even kidding. I'm not exaggerating. It is the best written book. There is no fat in that book. That is a thick book. Number 3, Fairy Dance, is a really thick book with no filler. There's 0 filler, and that makes it so good. It's just story, 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 story. Character-driven story. Unlike the quest for Aincrad, you know, this entire story is mostly about Kirito wanting to find Asuna in Alfenheim. And it's really effective. And that third book is just so meaty. It's good. There's no fat there. No filler. I read the entire story from cover to cover. And I was like, wow. There was no filler here. Now, I said one cool thing about Book 3. Let me tell you something awesome about Book 4. Book 4 wraps up the series very well. If there were no more SAO books, I would have been satisfied leaving at 4. Book 4 is such a good ending point, because, spoilers, I also have books 5 and 6. I haven't read them yet, but at that point, I had spent like a month just reading SAO books, and when I got to the end of Book 4, I was like, wow, I am satisfied. This ending is as long as I would like it to. All the warriors come back! It's really effectively written, emotionally resonant, and it ends at a really good high note. And I thought, you know what? I'm okay with leaving this world for a little while. I'm okay with getting a pause and then coming back and reading the next books. It's really satisfying. I say these 2 books tell a pretty good story, but when you look at the first 4 in unison, the Book 4 ends it on such a high note, it's kind of commendable, to be entirely honest. So, it's got a good ending. Now you know that, or at least I enjoyed it. Let's talk about the bad stuff. What did I not like about these books? Alright, I am going to get this out of the way right now. The 4th book ends so strong. It ends so strong that it hurts me. You know why? Because it starts super weakly. The 4th book is 200 pages. And the first 50 pages are nothing. The first 50 pages are Leafa and Kirito being stuck in the land of the Frost Giants, and it's nothing. Nothing is developed, nothing is new, and it's never referenced ever again except for the Sword Excalibur. But even then, like, that's nothing. I hate to be like this, but I'm blunt when I need to be blunt, and I'm harsh when I believe that I need to be harsh. If I hadn't read Book 3, if I hadn't been emotionally attached to Leafa and Kirito, I said, Leafa, Kirito, I'll talk about that in a moment, I would have probably cut all of those 50 pages out. I would have ripped them off the binding. They are nothing. They feel like padding, and to me, it hurt me the most, because I had just finished Book 3, and Book 3 is Book 3 has no filler whatsoever. It's kind of amazing. It shocks me because I'm so used to reading books and realizing, yeah, this is here, so your book could be the exact length that your agent wanted it to be. Book 4 falls into that. I can feel that Book 4 had to have that in there because otherwise it's just 150 pages. It's literally the first 50 pages are nothing. So if you're reading Book 4, you can skip those first 50 pages. Just skip them. They're nothing. And that's kind of sad, and it bothers me. So here you go. Book 4, it starts so weak, but it ends really good. So that's that. The other thing that I want to talk about is regarding the antagonist. Now, while these 2 books, books 3 and 4, actually do a pretty good job at fleshing out the story behind the antagonist of the first 2 books, the antagonist of this particular arc is not very effective. He is better than in the anime, but he's still completely unredeemable. That's the problem with this antagonist. Like, they're basically a monster. He's basically, and I hope this doesn't sound culturally insensitive, but like, he's so unredeemable. He's so removed of any sort of human feelings or regret or guilt that he might as well be Hitler, really. Like, that's how bad he is. He is so bad, so ridiculously, cartoonishly villain-like, that he might as well just be Hitler. And that's kind of a little sad, because like, I think that Kirito makes for a pretty interesting protagonist in the books. Like, in the anime, we'll talk about that later. But like, in the books, you see things from his point of view, you understand why he's doing things, you understand what's pushing him to do things, you understand what is giving him the abilities that he's got. I think that he would do very well against an antagonist that is kind of like, I don't know, a point of morality, but this guy, he's basically a cartoon. The antagonist is just such a joke. It's a little bit bad. Thankfully, the story doesn't revolve around them. The story is about Kirito looking for Asuna. It just so happens that this guy's in the way, but I don't know. I ultimately, to be entirely honest, the antagonist of these 2 books was kind of weak. And that's it for the bad things. I don't have to talk about anything else, right? We're gonna move right along. There's no elephant in the room. Not at all. Alright, real talk. The second arc of Sword Art Online is kind of infamous for revolving around one particular subject matter. A new character is introduced, Suguha, who happens to be Kirito's younger sister. The anime handles it so terribly that it probably hurt my perception of this character before I even read the books. We'll talk about the anime eventually. Suguha is not Kirito's biological sister. She's actually his cousin, but she develops romantic emotions towards him throughout the story. The anime makes it seem as though she wants to jump his bones, but the book, since you see it from her point of view, I believe makes things... it treats it a little bit more gracefully. Seeing as how she talks very candidly about how, she kept visiting, his bedside, looking at him slowly dying, becoming thinner as he was tied to that VR machine, and finally being reunited with him. I understand why she feels the way that she does. I don't agree with her. I don't think Kirito's particularly dreamy, but neither does she. In the book's defense, there's something I want to say, because, people are like, lol, this incest is still in the book. I mean, it's part of the story, I get it. The one thing that I liked, at least, is that every time that throughout the story, it probably takes all the way through the third book for Leafa to be like, is this really what I want? Is this really what I feel? I really should stop having these feelings for my brother. Which I appreciated that. Every time, she's like, do I feel this way? Do I really feel this way? She's like, I need to stop this. And I wish I had the book on me, because I lent it to Kitty. But I'm like, I wish I could just pull out the page and it's just here. She's like, I need to put an end to these feelings. And that's how she goes through the entirety of the third book. So, and all the way through the fourth book as well. But yeah, I mean, if you're wondering, lol, is Suguha all over Kirito's D? The answer is no. It's treated a lot more gracefully than I would have imagined, but it's still there. If that turns you off, I completely understand. I'm going to be talking about that in detail right now as we talk about the award. Every video, I like to offer whatever I'm reviewing a bit of an award to summarize the way that I feel about it, or at least give you hints as to one of the coolest elements of what it's got. And Sword Art Online Volumes 3 and 4, Fairy Dance, Alfenheim, the conclusion of the Aincrad events of the Sword Art Online universe. I have an award for you. It's a little bit special, and it deals not with your protagonist, who's a pretty cool guy, not with his girlfriend, who's also a pretty cool gal. It deals with Leafa, Suguha, the most controversial character in the series so far. I have an award for you, and it goes a little bit like this. I want to give to you, the one and only, a Tragedy in Slow Motion award. There is something that I was about to swear super hard. There's something that the anime gets super wrong, and the anime keeps portraying, because the anime, it's pushing on the cultural idea of waifus, and it's like, oh, there gotta be a harem, there's gotta be all these girls who just want to jump on Kirito's D, but that's not what happens in the book. Kirito loves Asuna. Kirito's doing all of this for Asuna. Kirito wants nothing in the world to be reunited with his, basically, wife. And in the books, because you read, I'm just gonna come out and say that I think more than half of the book is from Leafa's point of view, and the entire time she's battling with these feelings towards Kirito, and unbeknownst to her, she started playing a VR MMO to understand what pushed her brother into basically being locked away for 2 years, and she tries to discover that, and playing in this game, she ends up meeting her brother without realizing it. Now, the anime makes it seem as though, ooh, are they gonna get together? Are things gonna change? And in the book, that's never even considered. And it's unspoken. And it creates this feeling, because you know that Kirito is not gonna end up with Leafa. Spoilers. Kirito wants nothing but Asuna. And the instant that Leafa understands what's going on, or Suguha, I'm gonna say back and forth. And you know that. You know that through the entirety of the story, you're following through. And to me, when I read these two books, I had this feeling of watching a tragedy or a train wreck in slow motion. Because I look at Leafa and Suguha, and I'm like, you are a dumb teenager with feelings, and those feelings are gonna get you in trouble. And Kirito is like, I want nothing in the world but Asuna. And Lifa Sugu has like, oh god, all he wants is his girlfriend. And it creates this idea of like, you know where it's going. It's gonna get really sad. And then on the 4th book, it gets super sad. Oh man. See, and the best is like the book shows you that moment where Lifa Suguha understands what's going on. And it breaks her heart. And Kirito understands what's going on. And he's like, oh. It's effective. It was effective. I actually liked it. It was sad as heck. And especially because like I was reading like, you know, even from like the middle of the 3rd book, I'm like, oh, Suguha. It's like that one person you know, and you know they're making bad choices, and they're about to get punished super hard for that, and you can't stop them. And I'm just sitting here like, maybe the reason, I guess, why I grew emotionally attached to Suguha is because I knew she was going to get emotionally destroyed by the end. So, and that's what, like, that element of tragedy, and ironically, like, the ending of the book, I don't want to say that it undoes that, but like, it finds a way to turn that tragedy into at least a positive thing. It's interesting. It's really weird because beyond the questionable taboo subject, I mean, like, the entire point of fiction is to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable, so I have no problem with the story talking about that. But the fact that you see it from her point of view, you understand why she feels that way, and you know that she's going to fail from the start. Oof. Also, I don't know if this is clear because I'm talking as though you have any idea what happens in the story. Suguha has no idea that she's playing with her brother online. It's one of those things about playing games online, you don't know who's behind, you know, on the other side. And she helps this person, and she's, you know, she keeps helping this mysterious stranger, and she suddenly realizes, wait a minute, what? That person is the person that I had, what? No! There's a really good moment where she realizes that if she can't have her brother, instead she'll have this really cool person she met online. That person is her brother! So good. I live for moments like that in storytelling where a character is faced with 2 terrible choices and they pick the worst one. Anyways, I'm fangirling about storytelling. Overall, my feelings regarding SAO Book 3 and 4, I mean, I enjoyed 1 and 2. I think if you read those 2 and you enjoy them, you will enjoy 3 and 4, especially 3. 3 is the tightest book in the entire series. Like, if I had to rank the books, I would rank 3 as number 1. 3 is so tight and so good of story. It's the 2 towers of the SAO franchise. It's all the good stuff. It's all the good, exciting stuff. Book 4 starts weak. Book 4 starts so weak. Skip the first 50 pages. Don't read them. You don't have to. Don't. You have my permission to skip them. Nothing interesting happens. But that ending, though. Pretty much, the last 50 pages is the ending. And okay, the main problem with finishing a series is that the ending is either really short or not there at all. The ending could just be like, you know, 3 seconds and then we cut, you know, into darkness. Not in this series. Book 4 takes its wonderfully sweet time showing you the players that you met. All the warriors return! It's weird. I can't really, like, it's hard for me to just be like, go read them, you'll enjoy them. I liked it. And it's weird because when I watched the anime and... Oh, by the way, if you'd like to know what I'm going to be reviewing next week, feel free to check out the link in the description below. It'll give you a feeling as to where we're about to get ourselves into next week. But when I watched the anime, I was left with this feeling of wanting to learn more about this world, but not sure if I would like it. And reading the books was actually enjoyable. Yeah, there are certain elements that I wish hadn't been present at all, but they're still were. I mean, ultimately, these last 2 books are effective because, if anything, one thing, they're character focused. The entire story progresses because of all the right things in storytelling. Characters taking action, making choices, and facing the consequences of said choices. It's all the good stuff in writing. It's just kind of anime and weeboo, so, you know, if none of those things interest you, these books are probably not for you. But if you read the first 2, tag along. I think you'll like them, especially Book 3 and the ending of Book 4. Good stuff. But anyways, I've gone on way too long. I still have an end slate to talk about, so for the time being, I want to hear what you have to say. Have you read these books? Have you seen the anime? If you haven't, don't! For the time being, though, I gotta go record that end slate, so thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And let's make 2016 the year about finishing things. Alright? Alright. welcome back to the Spoilerific Enslate. I'm your host, then Kirin. If you haven't read these books and you want to read them, get out. Or don't. You're your own adult. You can make your own choices. Sword Art Online Volumes 3 and 4. I covered most of my bases during the freaking video because I needed to talk about Leafa. Because Leafa's a freaking problem. Leafa is a problem because the anime basically, like, I want to say whenever you hear me pause, imagine that there's something I want to say, but I either don't really feel like facing the consequences of what I'm about to say, or I think that I'm being too harsh. This time I paused because I wasn't harsh enough. The anime ruins Leafa. The anime flat out ruins her as a character. Not only because it changes her design, because it's so, like, the way that the anime presents Leafa, or Suguha, whatever, is so, like, contrary to what her character actually is. Because in the book, she's described as being kind of stocky, boyish looking, because all she does is sports. She just does kendo, like, all day. And in my mind, I pictured someone more in the likes of, like, Satsuki from Kill la Kill than I pictured, you know, that thing. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because seeing the story from her point of view allows you to see how she ends up where she does. It's kind of that idea of, like, you know, everyone is the hero of their own story, the protagonist of their own tale. And the anime, since it doesn't let you see into Leafa's head, it doesn't let you know what she's thinking or how she feels or how she got to where she is, you have no idea why. And it's really ineffective. The book solves all of those problems. It's still there. She still has feelings for her cousin. But I understood why she got there. I'm not about to psychoanalyze her as a person, but I would understand if someone that I was really close to, if I learned the instant that he basically dies, because I mean, let's be honest, he's in a hospital bed for 2 years without hope of ever, you know, waking up. If she learns that he's actually not her brother, he's actually his cousin. They all knew, they all lied to her, and she spends 2 years visiting his grave, leaving flowers, looking at his body that is very, 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 very slowly getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And suddenly one day he comes back, and he's being nice to you, and you're being, like, close again. I would understand why she would want to, I don't know, maybe in a sort of, like, internally, want to find the way to make this permanent. Maybe through romance, I don't know. I never got the feeling that she wanted to jump his bones, like the anime makes it seem. I never got the feeling of that. I never got the feeling that she wanted to, like, marry him. It was just a matter of, like, I like the way that I'm feeling right now. I like having your company. I like being friends with you. I like hanging out like we used to. I don't want it to stop. Understandable. The main antagonist is basically Hitler, though. He's so bad. In the book, he's all about money. Money, money, money. In the anime, he's, like, basically Hitler. He's just so, like, removed from reality. It's laughable. It's so laughable. He's a cartoon character. He might as well just, like, be doing, like, cartoon cackling. But anyways, I'm gonna get you, He-Man. I'm gonna get you, Kirito. Anyways, next week we're gonna be talking about the anime. Fun fact, if you check the link in the description below. If you haven't, I don't know, go check it out. Up to you. I can't stop you. I can't make you. We're gonna talk about that. It's gonna be the first of my ranting reviews, which is gonna be followed by another ranting review of another anime. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about something else. The ending of Book 4 is really good. That ending is really good. All the warriors come back! It's so good. So good. And the thing that I love the most is that in Books 3 and 4, Recon, which is Suguha's best friend, or friend from high school, he's the biggest loser of all time. Oh my god, he's such a loser. He's the worst excuse the expression. Recon is what you would call a fuckboy. He is the biggest fuckboy. And he never gets any. He never gets anything. It's so good. Even all the way to the very end. Even Recon shows up at the end of the story. It's so good. It's so good. Even this loser. And even freaking Klein comes back. And even the author is like, you know his tie? He's wearing the ugliest tie there's ever been. That is the right type of fan service. It's like, hey, you know this emotional attachment that you have to these characters in this world? Well, I've got something else you may enjoy. Let's have them but be reunited and be happy. Really touching, really touching, really good, really good, really good. I understand that, like, I never claimed that these books are like high literature. I never claimed that they're like something you can study and learn from. But they were fun. They were fun. I enjoyed them. And, you know, the writing was still top-notch. The translation was still top-notch. You learn how this world actually works, about the mechanics. Pretty cool stuff. Also, one more thing before I go. You want to hear something funny? I'm wearing my SAO trash right now. You know why? Because this is a Kirito shirt. Oh, Kirito, no!